What's up, pups? Vixie. I hope you're having a great day and hope it only gets spookier. Welcome to another silly video. I didn't really feel like recording Silent Hill today because I wasn't really feeling up to a hour and a half long recording session. So, what would Spooktober be without a silly Halloween-related tier list? Last year, of course, I rated several monsters based on their dateability, quote-unquote, and if you'll forgive the joke here, I figured we'd try something a little bit more palatable for the general populace, so to speak. But before we get to that, given the silliness of this of this video, I figured I'll get out the Patreon plug just right quick so we can move on to the rest of the video. A huge shout out to all of my current patrons. I love you all so much, and your support is always very much appreciated. If you would like to support me and the channel, you can do so on Patreon for just $5 a month, and you get a bunch of cool perks, such as work-in-progress art, whether it be for thumbnails or just something I happen to be working on, full resolution art, including for thumbnails, early access to all of my videos, and access to a special channel where I host all of my director's cut and uncut content for your viewing pleasure. So if any of that strikes your fancy, make sure to head on the link in the description and check out my Patreon. Once again, a huge shout out to all of my current patrons. Your support is very much appreciated, and I love you all very much. And now we can move on to the bulk of the video. Many a person has done this sort of thing before, but we are going to be rating these here Halloween candies from the best to the worst. However, I see this here never had it tier, just in case, I haven't had any one of these given candies, which, doing a quick once over, I'm pretty sure I've had most of these, so that shouldn't be a problem. But for the very few that I have not had, I figured I'd do something a little bit different instead of just putting it into the never had it tier, and I'll have ChatGPT rate the candy for me and see what it has to say about the candy. I figured that might be a kind of fun twist on these candy tier lists, because obviously people have done them before. But before we get to the actual tier list, how about I just say, hey, if you enjoy my videos, maybe consider hitting the subscribe button, and make sure to turn on bell notifications if you do, so the subscribe button actually does something. And if you do like my videos and happen to think you're already subscribed, I would advise just checking to make sure that you did subscribe, because YouTube is a big fan of randomly unsubscribing people for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Almost made it through. But now, I think it's high time we get to this here wonderful candy tier list, starting with the 100 grand bar. Now, I've definitely had these before. However, I remember not particularly liking them, but they have a good texture. I'm pretty sure the 100 grand bars are the ones that have like the crunchy, like rice poppy things in the chocolate, which I do like. The texture's good, but I also distinctly remember them overly hard or chewy. There was something about the actual process of eating the thing that was an unpleasant experience for me. So I feel like this is a good firm start at C tier. No, actually, you know what? I like chocolate. We'll put it in B tier. Next up, we have the good old Three Musketeers. My mom loves Three Musketeers. However, I've always been iffy on it. Three Musketeers is that candy that I'm like, oh, cool, and I'll eat it if I get it. But it's not something I actively search for, And even then, I'm not sure which way to, we'll say, prepare the Three Musketeers. Bear with me here. There are some candies that just objectively taste better when you do something beforehand, right? What's a good example? Putting like ding-dongs or something in the freezer, absolute gas, amazing. Or like warming up a Tootsie Roll so it's nice and mushy and soft. So almost like a marshmallow rather than like the very stretchy chocolate that Tootsie Roll normally is. There's always a way to prepare some of the more mediocre candies, and I feel like Three Musketeers works best if you put it in the fridge, because if you put it in the freezer, it's gonna get really hard and it's gonna be impossible to eat. And just because of that, I'm gonna say this is a C tier. I'm not a huge fan of Three Musketeers. Airheads. Okay, now we're getting into something interesting. I'm a fan of chocolate. I like my chocolate. It's good. It's delicious. It's a nice, refreshing bit of sweetness on a rough day. However, that being said, I do not particularly have a sweet tooth. In fact, I'm not particularly fond of sweet things in general. Things are very easily oversweet for me. And for things like orange chicken or honey barbecue or something like that, I am of the firm opinion that meat should never be sweet. I cannot do sweet meats. Airheads, however, are very interesting because they're basically consolidated sugar. That's all that they are. But they more so lean towards a sour note rather than purely sweet, and because of that, they end up being tart. which I do like myself some tartness. I love sour, and I do like myself some tartness. So I'm actually going to say I'm going to be pretty happy if I get an Airheads in my trick-or-treating bag. So that's going to be an A tier. Next up, we have Almond Joy. Ooh, there's a very controversial one. I'm going to make a very select group of people very angry and a very select group of people very upset with my ranking of this one. Almond Joy, regardless of the situation, is always S tier. The milk chocolate, the coconut, the little bit of almond in there, which granted I don't really eat almonds anymore because of an experience I had with eating too many almonds, but I still do like almonds. They're not my go-to nut anymore. That has been usurped by cashews, but almonds are still good. And the mixture between the coconutty taste and the milk chocolate, it's perfect. I'm always happy to get an Almond Joy. Absolutely top tier. If you disagree, you're either allergic to coconut or you can fight me. Next up, we have Baby Ruth. I seem to remember Baby Ruth's being absolute fucking garbage. Let me just look up on my other monitor here to make sure that I know what Baby Ruth is. Okay, yeah, so I was thinking of a different candy with Baby Ruth, but I still do not like Baby Ruth. In theory, it's all of the hallmarks of a classic chocolate bar. It's chocolate, it's nougat, it's caramel, and it's peanuts, which is always good. However, the way Baby Ruth is constructed, the way it's put together, is bad to me. Why, you might ask? Well, that is because the almonds are whole almond halves. I know that's an oxymoron, but just, you know what I mean. Did I say almonds? Are they almonds or peanuts? I think I said almonds, but they're peanuts. They're peanut halves, and they are adhered to the nougat inside with the caramel, and then all of that is, we'll say, coated in the milk chocolate. However, due to the manner in which the peanuts are adhered and presented in the Baby Ruth, they hurt my mouth, and I just realized I was typing in the never had it thing because of my binds. Shut up. They hurt my mouth, and I have a sensitive mouth. I have a very sensitive mouth. There's many things I can't eat because they are too hard on my sensitive mouth, and they make my mouth bleed. Baby Ruth isn't quite that hard on my mouth, but it's getting there. So for that unpleasant mouthfeel experience, while with good taste, it's going to be on the lower end of C tier. Next up, we have Butterfinger. Ooh, so there's a select group of people, once again, that I'm going to be making very angry with this. Butterfinger is and will always be F tier. It is the worst chocolate peanut butter bar, and it always will be. You want to know why? Because they figured that, hey, if these other competitors are basically putting like a sort of dry peanut butter or just straight up putting peanut butter in their chocolate bars, how about we put in peanut butter flavored sawdust, absolutely compounded into a brick of shit that will always invariably always get stuck in your teeth, and no matter how hard you floss, it will only ever be removed from your tooth with surgical precision with industrial tools. This shit is garbage. And while I do enjoy the taste, because you cannot go wrong with chocolate and peanut butter unless you're allergic to either, that experience of actively eating the Butterfinger is absolutely fucking terrible. And I cannot stand things that get stuck in my teeth. So, Butterfinger, sorry to all you Butterfinger stans. However, this means I will not be laying a finger on your Butterfinger because I do not want it even slightly. F tier. Oh, the controversial one. Ooh, first Almond Joy and now candy corn. Now, usually the situation with candy corn is you either absolutely love it or you absolutely hate it. There's usually no in between. I am the in between. I do not dislike candy corn. I do not love candy corn. I am not opposed to getting candy corn in my trick-or-treat basket. And the reason I am not opposed to it is because the taste is okay. It's not awesome, but it's good. I appreciate that it's not overly sweet. The waxy feel of it is a bit of a put-off, but I can look past it. But the texture of actually eating candy corn is very pleasant to me. I enjoy it. As I mentioned, I have a sensitive mouth, and this includes sensitive teeth, so soft things that are easy to chew are very good for me. And so while there is the duality of you either love or hate candy corn, I am firmly in the middle. But because of the pleasant experience of actually eating it, it's probably going to be on the low end of B tier. It's perfectly fine. I'm not upset when I get candy corn. Next up, we have the Nestle Crunch. Now, when I was younger, I did enjoy myself a Nestle Crunch bar because it isn't overly hard and it gets me that crunchy, bubbly texture of the little rice pops in there. And I do love that. There's something that I like almost as much as chocolate and peanut butter. It's chocolate and very crunchy rice puffs, because that is a very satisfying, like, textile experience for your mouth. That being said, Nestle is a colossal piece of shit company and does a lot of alleged, incredibly sketchy shit. So I tend not to go out of my way to buy Nestle stuff anymore, or pick out Nestle products, and I usually go out of my way to not buy them because while they are a mega corporation that is not going anywhere soon, I would still like to at least give myself that little bit of, we'll say, reassurance that I'm not contributing personally to their never-ending supply of ill-gotten gains. With that all being said, with this being the connotation of me trick-or-treating and getting this in my trick-or-treat basket, and therefore I did not buy the Crunch Bar, I would say high C tier. It's good. Nestle chocolate isn't my favorite. I'm more of a Hershey's person myself. Cadbury absolutely, and I will immediately admit that Cadbury chocolate is infinitely better to Hershey. Nestle chocolate of the three is the least, so it's eh. But it's a pleasant textile experience, and I'm not paying the company that is Nestle fuck Nestle, so I'm gonna place it firmly at high C. Next up we have Dots. Ooh, little gumdrops. Now, I mentioned with the Butterfinger, made a very big point about the Butterfinger, that I do not like it when things get stuck in my teeth. Dots get stuck in my teeth. However, Dots are very, very flavorful and not in an overly sweet way, which I appreciate. Additionally, my mom is a big fan of Dots. I probably like Dots as much as I do because of my mom sharing her Dots with me as I was growing up. So this is a nostalgic candy for me. And the good thing about this nostalgic candy is it's still around. So at any point, I could just walk down to the corner store and buy a box of Dots. And that's good. Additionally, this is another candy that is much better if you prepare it. Usually, I end up preparing Dots by just kind of like setting the box of Dots between my legs or sitting on it somewhere warm to make sure that the Dots are just that little bit extra bit, not gooey, but much softer. And that actually helps with them getting stuck in my teeth. So Dots are actually going to be low A tier. I'm a big fan. Moving on to Fun Dip. Ooh, now we're getting into the absolute punch in the face of sugar here. That being said, while I do not have much of a sweet tooth, I am fairly okay with Fun Dip. I especially appreciate the option of blue raspberry flavor because I mentioned I love sour stuff. And the blue raspberry Fun Dip is much, much better because it's more tart than sweet. It's more sour than sweet, and I appreciate that. However, there is an interesting little thing about Fun Dip, and that is you can't really share it. Usually on Halloween, you don't want to share your candy anyway because you earned it, after all, after having to brave knocking on a stranger's door. However, I am a charitable person. I like sharing things. I like making people happy the same way that I feel happy, and I feel happy when I eat Fun Dip. However, you cannot share Fun Dip because to properly consume the Fun Dip, you need to lick and wet the little sugar stick that it comes with so it adheres the dust to that stick and you could pop it. That's how you eat Fun Dip. You could, just pour it into your mouth if you're an animal, but that is the correct way to eat Fun Dip. That being said, speaking of said sugar stick, I have a distinct memory of when I was younger of completely understanding the appeal and the proper manner in which to partake of Fun Dip. I would lick it, nice and wet, get some Fun Dip, give me that blue raspberry goodness. And then once all the dust is gone, I would crunch and I would eat the sugar stick because that's part of the experience. And I remember people giving me weird looks because they did not understand the proper etiquette of eating your Fun Dip. They did not realize that after that the dip was gone, the stick is the remaining experience and that you can crunch it and eat it as well because it's just a bunch of compressed sugar. And I got weird looks and people made fun of me. These other kids made fun of me for eating the stick, and I say, oh, contraire, silly bitch. The stick is part of the The stick is part of the fun dip experience. If you simply throw away the stick, you're also wasting food, but most importantly, you are missing out on 50% of the experience with said fun dip. Fun dip is middle A tier. It's great. Remember, kiddos, eat the stick after the dust is gone for the full fun dip experience. Moving on to Haribo Gold Bears, aka just plain ass gummy bears. I am very indifferent on gummy bears. They can be okay, they can be alright. They are never exceptional. I cannot think of a time I've had a bad gummy bear, but I can think of a time I have had a very mid gummy bear, and that's most times I have gummy bears. I find myself usually wishing I had a box of dots rather than a bag of gummy bears, but I will still eat the gummy bears. They are not my first choice, and I will be kind of disappointed if I get these instead of dots, so it's gonna be on the lower end of C tier. Still above Baby Ruth though, because they are easy to eat, and they can get stuck in your teeth, but they tend to be soft, so it's easy to get them out after, you like floss or even just use your tongue. Ah yes, moving on to the Heath bar. Ooh, I do love me a good Heath bar. Now, with that being said, I believe the premier experience of the Heath experience is not the chocolate bar, but the ice cream bar. Heath ice cream is one of the most heavenly experiences you can have when it comes to sweets. It is absolutely perfect, and if it was on here, I would give Heath ice cream bars an S+ tier, because they are kick-ass and I love them every time. The Heath chocolate bar is the same, but without the addition of that very pleasant, I believe it's French vanilla ice cream, but they might come in different flavors. I don't know. I usually just see Heath bar, go, and I immediately grab it, and I don't think about if it's a different flavor than another Heath bar I've eaten. But that's beside the point. Heath bars on a whole are a pleasant experience. They make me happy. I'm never opposed to having a Heath bar. I prefer the ice cream, but the Heath bar is always good. Above Airheads at top of A tier. Ah yes, the classic plain Hershey's chocolate bar. This is a very safe choice because if you're an American, Hershey's is the go-to for everything. It is your most stock standard chocolate bar that you can get. It is perfect on s'mores and is a staple of making s'mores, to a point where Hershey's advertisements often in America, I'm not sure if Hershey gets advertised too much anywhere else, but in Hershey's advertisements, it is almost always being shown being put on s'mores. Because those little pips, they're called pips by the way, those little pips can be broken off in the center, and it will be perfect for placing between two whole graham crackers that you have likewise broken in the center, and put a marshmallow on after toasting it in the campfire, and then you have a heavenly, pleasant, all-American experience. That being said, is Hershey's chocolate on its own the best? I wouldn't say so, but it's definitely not bad. People from other countries have often said that American chocolate tastes like vomit, and no matter how hard I try, even after having tried Cadbury chocolate, I can't really get that. So I'm guessing it's more like a cilantro, I think, situation, where there's some gene that makes it taste like soap, but I don't understand that. I like Hershey's chocolate. I mentioned this earlier. Cadbury's on top, of course, but Hershey's chocolate is good, and I like it. So the plain Hershey's bar, I'm actually going to put in middle of A tier, because the more I think about it, the more I like it. Ah, hot tamales. Okay, so I need to check something real quick about hot tamales, so pardon me while I go over to my second monitor, because I'm pretty sure I know what they are, and yeah, America's #1 cinnamon flavored candy. So, fun fact, I cannot eat these. Whether or not they actually use real cinnamon, I don't know, but I'm not gonna take the risk. If it's cinnamon flavoring, great, because I know I like the taste of cinnamon. However, I cannot eat cinnamon. I am unsure if it is an allergy or something weird. All I know is my body rejects it. My throat doesn't close up or anything, thankfully. But anytime I ingest cinnamon, I tend to violently expel it from my body. So I cannot eat these. So I have both not wanted to try them and I've never had it. So we're gonna look over to ChatGPT real quick to see what it has to say about hot tamales. Okay, I have given ChatGPT the prompt, so let's see if it if it can do this right. So over to you, ChatGPT, for the Hot Tamales review. Hot Tamales cinnamon flavored candy is a classic spicy sweet treat with a bold cinnamon flavor that delivers a punch of heat. The chewy texture complements the strong flavor, making it a favorite for those who love spicy candy. However, the intensity can be overwhelming for some, and it's definitely a love it or leave it type of candy. Tier ranking? B tier. It's good for cinnamon lovers, but the strong flavor might not appeal to everyone. Wow, how very fair of you. Now give us an incredibly mediocre knock joke relating to Halloween. Knock knock. Who's there? Which who? Which way to the candy? Oh wow, mediocre was definitely the word for that. Thank you, ChatGPT. Anyway, according to ChatGPT, because I cannot eat these, hot tamales are a B tier, and I'll just put them behind candy corn, and that'll be my input from this. Next up, we have jelly beans. Now, I am a particular fan of jelly beans. I know I said I don't have a particular sweet tooth, but a lot of particularly sweet stuff I've rated really high. But usually that whole situation comes from the active experience of eating it. Obviously, it tastes good because sugar makes your brain go whoo, but it's more so the experience I have feeling after, where my teeth feel itchy and there's might be some sort of residue left over, and I really have to feel like I really feel like I have to brush my teeth after, and I usually do. But we get the point. We get the point. That being said, jelly beans are always a good option. Why? Because of the sheer variety of different flavors that they have. You have the tried and true flavors of usually like red, orange, and pink, which are always awesome and you're always happy to get. You have the sleeper hit flavors of the either white or yellow, usually they're interchangeable for like lemonade, and like the green, which is either watermelon or lime. Those are always good. And then you have the ever controversial black licorice jelly bean. And this experience is always good for me. Why? Because the black licorice jelly bean is not liked by very many people. So, me being one of the individuals who loves, in fact, is my second favorite flavor next to purple ones, which I usually get. I love the purple ones. My second favorite flavor of jelly bean being black licorice means anytime someone gets jelly beans, there's always that little pocket of black gold sitting at the bottom of their bag of jelly beans because they don't want to eat them, and they always invariably give them to me. So I get a whole bag of every black licorice jelly bean that they did not want in that bag of jelly beans, and that makes me happy. Jelly beans are S tier. Not quite Almond Joy because Almond Joy is godlike, but they are S tier. Next up, we have Jolly Ranchers. Jolly Ranchers are a very pleasant experience because they are a very classic, sweet, hard candy. And I will say that I am iffy on hard candy due to my sensitive mouth and everything, where when you get to the point where it's so tiny from you sucking on it the whole time that it's just kind of little and you feel like you kind of want to just get it over with. If you want to bite through it so you can swallow it, that's a little bit hard for me and it might get stuck in my teeth. But there have been very few experiences as pleasant or rewarding as getting a blue raspberry Jolly Rancher for getting a question correctly in 2nd grade. That was special. Granted, this is Halloween, so you don't have that connotation of, hey, I got this math question right when I'm completely ass trash at math and still am to this day. But there's always something special about finding a Jolly Rancher in your trick-or-treating bag because you don't know what flavor it's gonna be. If you buy a bag of Jolly Ranchers, you can always pick out the ones you want first or save them for best for last situation. But when someone else's parents just grab a handful of candy from their bowl that they have sitting next to their front door, they're not worried about what flavor they give you. You could get absolutely shit stomped and you get the green one that no one wants, or you could roll the jackpot and you get nothing but blue raspberry and watermelon flavored Jolly Ranchers, and you're laughing. That's legal tender as far as trading candy goes. Jolly Ranchers are a staple of Halloween candy, and while they can range from absolute god tier to incredibly mid, they are going to be S tier. Moving on to Hershey's Kisses, returning once more to the wonderful world of Hershey's chocolate. Now, this picture here from the color of the wrapping, that just looks to me like a very plain, stock standard, solid Hershey's milk chocolate Hershey's Kiss, which is perfectly fine. I enjoy. This is another candy I like to prepare, but not in the way of like sitting on it or putting it in the fridge, God forbid, because then become practically lethal weapons at that point. I almost like treating Hershey's Kisses as hard candies, which is to say I put them in my mouth, pop it in, and I let it sit there for a while. And I just literally let it melt in my mouth. And once it gets to a point where it's very soft and very melty, that's when I bite into it and I enjoy the rest of the Hershey's Kiss experience. These Hershey Kisses are not timely for the Halloween season. The absolute best goated god tier Hershey's Kiss I've ever had that would get S tier if it was here are the white chocolate peppermint Hershey's Kisses that show up for Christmas season. Those are absolutely god tier, and I feel confident saying that everyone will agree with me that those are the best. But those don't show up for Halloween because they are a Christmas thing. They're a holiday season. Peppermint is not seasonally cool for Halloween. This is the era of ghost flavor and like pumpkin flavor and stuff. So that usually just includes dark chocolate if you're a maniac, milk chocolate, or my personal favorite of this chocolate variety, milk chocolate with the little almond in the center of it. Those are always nice because I can let the chocolate melt in my mouth, as I mentioned, and then I just have a very slightly chocolatey almond to eat, which is always fun. Hershey's Kisses are going to be S tier. Ooh, are they behind Almond Joy though? Yeah, I'm gonna leave them behind Almond Joy because while there are almond Hershey's Kisses, you're missing the coconut experience. So for those of us who either don't like or are allergic to coconut, Hershey's Kisses with almonds are the much better option. But I thankfully love coconut and am not allergic to it, so Almond Joy is still at the top. Next up we have Kit Kats. Very classic, very good. Still Nestle, so it kind of sucks, but at least Kit Kats are good. Now, Kit Kats I will rate right off the bat is middle of A tier. Kit Kats, I feel, get very close for me to that thing of American chocolate tasting like vomit, because if I eat a bunch of them back to back, I kind of get that weird flavor in the back of my throat, and I think that's what people are talking about. But the texture of a Kit Kat is unmatched. The crispy wafer in the center is always pleasant to get to. That being said, given the presentation of Kit Kats, they are a little bit of a controversial snack because for the like king size Kit Kats where it's like the big bricks, it's like 4 to 6 of the long Kit Kats. Yeah, you're definitely just gonna break them off one by one and eat them that way. However, for the fun size 2 little Kit Kats stuck together that you get for Halloween, that you almost always get for Halloween, I am of the opinion that those are small enough that you can just eat them as a chocolate bar and you don't have to break them apart. If you're a kid, break them apart because, you know, your mouth is smaller, your whole body's smaller, so that makes more sense. But as an adult, you're not gonna go through the effort of breaking the 2 Kit Kats. They're 2 tiny fun-sized Kit Kats. You're not gonna bother breaking them apart. Don't lie to me. I know you don't bother. It might be sacrilege to just bite into the 2 connected Kit Kats, but I know you as an adult are not going to bother breaking them apart because I don't bother breaking them apart. All in all, Kit Kats are fine. They're on the higher end of fine, which is why they're middle of A tier. I'm not upset to get them, aside from the Nestle part, but we've been over that. But I will give an honorable mention to Japan, because Japan famously has an absolute boatload of Kit Kat flavors, a lot of which I really want to try. There's like a wheat cracker flavor of Kit Kat that I desperately want to try. That sounds exactly up my alley. I fucking love wheat thins, so that seems very toasty and nice. For stock standard regular ass milk chocolate Kit Kats, middle of A tier seems comfortable for me. Oh, I just realized I put them behind the basic Hershey's chocolate. There we go. I'm actually gonna put them behind Fun Dip as well. And okay, they're bottom A tier. Oh yes, the SpongeBob Gummy Krabby Patty. I will start off by saying I do not think that there is a person alive that thinks that these are awesome. That being said, they are not bad. They are okay. But because they are okay, they're still, Kit Kat's going down, they're still at the bottom end of A tier. Because as a kid, there is that incredible experience. While, of course, it's not an actual burger, but you still get that extra feeling of I'm eating a real Krabby Patty. This is what Bikini Bottom is losing their mind over. And then you bite into it and it's just kind of like incredibly mid gummy candy. But that initial hit of, oh my god, I can finally taste a Krabby Patty is something special. So I would say the lower end of A tier is perfectly fine. Next up we have Lifesavers. I'm going to be very quick on this one. and say, like, high-ish C tier. Lifesavers are good. I've always gotten the feeling that they are off-brand Jolly Ranchers. They're both hard candies, of course, and Lifesavers are actually just a little bit softer and get softer quicker, that you're able to just kind of eat them if you feel like it. And if you got strong teeth, you can just kind of bite into them immediately, because they're a lot thinner, there's a lot less to bite. But largely, they are both hard candies and you're supposed to suck on them. And with that experience in mind, Lifesavers flavor is a lot more mild than I would prefer with my hard candy, especially considering how they're smaller, thinner, and you'll get through them faster. So I feel, as far as hard candies go, if I get a Lifesavers instead of Jolly Ranchers, I'm gonna be disappointed. So they're gonna hang out in C tier. Next up, we have Lifesavers White, I believe? Oh, Lifesavers Mints. Oh, okay, so that sounds up my alley, but I've actually never had these, so we'll have to turn to our good friend ChatGPT to see what they're like. Okay, this time I have like the same prompt, but I plugged in Lifesavers and stuff, and also I'm gonna have it do the incredibly mediocre joke as part of the review. Going over to our correspondent on the scene, ChatGPT, with a review of Lifesavers Mints. Lifesavers Mints are a refreshing classic with a crisp, clean peppermint flavor that lasts. They're perfect for freshening breath and have a satisfying crunch. While not the most exciting candy, they serve their purpose well and are reliably tasty. Tier ranking? A tier. Great for fresh breath and a solid mint flavor, though not a standout treat in terms of excitement. Now for the joke. Why don't skeletons fight each other? They don't have the guts. Thank you, ChatGPT. I appreciate that. All right, so saith our AI overlords. Lifesavers Mints are A tier, and then I have the delineation of where to put them in A tier, and I'll say above the... Well, you know what? I'll put them above dots. Ah, yes. Moving on to Dum Dums. I believe that's what those are. Those don't look like Tootsie Pops to me, because Tootsie Pops are typically much bigger. Those look like Dum Dums. Dum Dums, for those who are... I'd imagine this is an American thing, so for everyone else, Dum Dums are lollipops. They're suckers. They're typically little. They come in a variety of different flavors depending on, frankly, the time of day. And usually, if you get them in your Halloween basket, you're typically going to get like 90% Dum Dums because they're so easy to just throw in there because they're so little. That being said, they're a pleasant experience. The blue raspberry ones are, of course, the standout, but there are some oddballs in there that I do like. There are an off-brand, well, not off-brand, but there is an offshoot of Dum Dums that are very similar to Tootsie Pops that have bubble gum in the center, which are a little bit bigger because they have to put the candy casing around the bubble gum. And while the bubble gum isn't amazing, it's a pleasant experience to chew. I'm a fan of chewing things, so even if gum has already lost its favor like 3 minutes ago, I'll probably still chew on it just because it's satisfying. Dum Dums are a very safe choice. So I'm gonna put them above the 100 grand bar in top of B tier. Moving on, we have Peanut M&Ms. Ooh, peanut M&Ms are an absolute classic. They are amazing. They are, of course, chocolate and peanuts. Not peanut butter, but peanuts. So, of course, they're going to be good. That being said, I actually prefer simple chocolate-covered peanuts and not specifically peanut M&Ms. Weird, I know, but again, I have a sensitive mouth and sensitive teeth. So, the extra little bit of shielding around the peanuts of the candy M&M's casing can kind of be a little bit, not painful, but uncomfortable for me to eat. Am I gonna complain about it? To myself, sure. Will I complain if someone gives me a bag of peanut M&Ms or even just a handful? Absolutely not, because they're absolute gas. They just can kind of be uncomfortable for me specifically to eat. And looking at the rest of the list here, I do not see the best M&Ms, which is the pretzel M&Ms. So with that in mind, we're gonna say of this list we have here, this is the best M&Ms. However, if pretzel M&Ms were here, they would go above Almond Joy in top of S tier, because if you thought the peanut M&Ms were gas, then the pretzel M&Ms are pure fuel. But those aren't here from what I can see, so we're gonna put peanut M&Ms right behind Hershey's Kisses? I think potentially yes. behind Hershey's Kisses. But again, this is my list. That's purely for the experience of them being kind of uncomfortable for me to eat. Now, weirdly, we will be moving on to stock standard regular M&Ms, which, that being said, while they don't have the added experience of the pretzel or the peanut butter, which are also awesome, standard M&Ms are good. They are good. I believe they're Mars specifically. Not like Hershey's, they're Mars bars. We don't really have Mars bars anymore. You don't really ever see those. M&M's is like Mars legacy. And honestly, they're fine. They're good. And weirdly enough, M&M's can work as like a standard hard candy as well. So regular M&M's I actually almost prefer over peanut M&Ms because I don't have to bite into them if, my teeth are feeling particularly sensitive that day, and I can just suck on them because eventually the candy coating will melt off and then the chocolate will follow. There's options for regular M&Ms, whereas you still have to bite into a peanut M&M, so I usually just get that out of the way and I don't bother like sucking off the... Maybe not phrase it that way. I usually don't bother letting the candy and the chocolate melt before eating the peanut. That's more of a Hershey's Kisses experience. But with that being said, M&Ms are always good. You cannot go wrong. And I'm actually going to put them right behind Hershey's chocolate. Moving on away from more chocolatey candies, we are looking at Mike and Ike's, which Mike and Ike's are very, very good. They're sort of this weird halfway point between a jelly bean and like almost like runts, those really hard like sugar candies. Usually like the banana ones are the best. I can't eat runts because they are way too hard for my mouth, but Mike and Ike's provide that fruity experience. They are like Skittles if Skittles were slightly less mild in the amount of sugar in them. I can eat Skittles, but I will usually only eat like one little fun-sized bag of Skittles, and I'll be like, all right, that's enough sugar for me here today. Mike and Ike's, however, I could crush a whole box and I'd be fine. Usually I like to have the box throughout the day and not just knock back the whole thing immediately. That being said, Mike and Ike's are good, and I cannot off the top of my head think of a single flavor of Mike and Ike I dislike. There's a cool rhyme for you. So I'm gonna say Mike and Ike's are probably going to be probably right behind Heath and top of A tier. Moving on, we have Milk Duds. Milk Duds, I appreciate what they go for. This is a dad candy. My dad loved Milk Duds. He doesn't really eat them anymore, but he did love them. Milk Duds are Rolos that get stuck in your teeth. They are Rolos that someone put in the freezer, and because of that, they are much tougher than they should be, and they get stuck in your teeth. And we all know how I feel about that. Now, is the caramel and the chocolate bad caramel and chocolate? Not really, no. Is it my favorite? Still no. So I think Milk Duds, somewhat fittingly, are gonna be our first D tier. They're not bad. I don't want to have Milk Duds. Next up, we have Milky Way. I'm going to say this out the gate, and if anyone disagrees with me, I'm sorry, but you happen to be wrong. Milky Way and Three Musketeers are the same exact candy. They are the same thing. Three Musketeers are a little bit more chewy, and Milky Way are a little bit more softer, I suppose. I might even be getting those backwards, but these two candies are so similar both in oral experience and taste that really neither is better than the other. So Milky Way are going right next to Three Musketeers in C tier. It's the same picture. Next up, we return to the world of fruit, or fruity, like sweet situation. Not really fruit, but just kind of sugar, with Nerds. Nerds are pleasant. They are hard. They can be a little bit rough on my teeth because, sensitive mouth and everything. But those little like shotgun boxes of Nerds, very fun and tactile to shake. So they double as a toy, honestly. They double as a fidget toy. A loud fidget toy, but you can mess with it. And I just realized I'm typing in the F tier again. Damn it. I don't know that I would be one to grab a large box of Nerds or a bag. I've never seen a big portion of Nerds before, like a king-size Nerds. I've only ever seen the little tiny boxes of Nerds, which is my preferred receptacle for Nerds because they are a sugar shot. That's what they are. As an adult, you just take a little box of Nerds, you open it up entirely, and then you just knock back that whole thing in one go. That's how I eat Nerds. It's just a really quick punch in the face of sugar to make sure you wake up. Is it an unpleasant experience? No. I would not say so, especially purple Nerds. Purple Nerds are my favorite, much like how purple jelly beans are my favorite. And it's just a pleasant experience to just have a little tiny box of purple Nerds, knock it back real quick, and then I'm good on sugar for the day. So I'm going to say this is probably top B tier. I don't think we're gonna get something that's higher in B tier. Next up, we have rose gold pretzels. Not your traditional Halloween candy, because it's not candy, it's bread. But I'm a huge fan of carbs, so I love my bread, I love my pretzels. I, in particular, am a huge fan of pretzels. Now, let me offer a bit of an adult approach to these rose gold pretzels, if you will. Not for a second you are a child going out trick-or-treating and you happen to get a little to-go bag of rose gold pretzels, but rather you're an adult, probably don't have kids, maybe you're not doing trick-or-treating, but you take advantage of the Halloween season to get yourself some sweets, some stuff to snack on, and you see that family-sized bag of rose gold pretzels sitting on the shelf and you're like, methinks me have an idea. So you grab that, you grab a couple Hershey's milk chocolate bars, you melt that over a double boiler, and then you coat a handful of these pretzels, however many you can fit with the amount of chocolate you've just melted. You coat them in the chocolate. You put them on a piece of parchment paper lining a like a cookie sheet or something, and you put them in the freezer. And just then, congratulations, you have made homemade chocolate-covered pretzels. And that is one of the greatest things that God has given us. They don't have to be, homemade, but chocolate-covered pretzels are always absolute heat. You can never go wrong with them. Much like how vanilla ice cream is amazing because of the blank slate that it is, on top of being just a decent flavor on its own, rose gold pretzels are amazing because of the blank slate that they are. You could even just simply have a little bit of peanut butter on the side to scoop out with those rose gold pretzels for that little bit of peanut buttery goodness to go along with your salty little bread snack cracker. Or you could go that extra mile and have some Hershey's chocolate, melt it, and make yourself some homemade chocolate covered pretzels. These are a perfect blank slate and even just a nice snack if you don't want to go through all the trouble. They're still just good pretzels. They are S tier. I would wager above peanut M&Ms. Moving on to the ever good classic Reese's peanut butter cups. Ignoring the unfortunate souls out there who are allergic to peanuts, there is not a child alive that is disappointed to see a Reese's peanut butter cup resting in their trick-or-treating bag. They are always happy to see that orange packaging and that yellow font, because Reese's peanut butter cups, no matter who you are, will always be a great option for a default candy. If you want some chocolatey goodness, a little bit of sweetness, and you're a big fan of peanut butter, which I am, you can get yourself a nice Reese's peanut butter cup. Maybe put it in the fridge, maybe put it in the freezer. You can. Sometimes they do get quite a bit melty if you wish, but you always have the option to just take a nice Reese's peanut butter cup, fiddle with the unnecessary fucking wrapping around the cup itself, and you can get it off, and then you lick off the little bit of peanut butter that was on the bottom because it melted a little bit, and you're like, then you eat that, and then you're like, okay, time for the main event. And then you bite into the Reese's peanut butter cup. You get that very mild, very okay milk chocolate, and then the Reese's peanut butter in the middle. And then, for a moment, that brief moment, life is good. All of your worries have gone away. All of the anxiety is gone, and you're happy, and you can enjoy that moment for a little bit. And usually, that's not the last of it, because you still typically have half of a Reese's peanut butter cup left, and then you can have that experience again. And usually the packages come with 2. The regular, normal size Reese's peanut butter cup comes with 2. So you have 4 of that nice little not vicarious, but that little break from life for a moment of you just enjoying a Reese's peanut butter cup. Am I glazing Reese's in hopes that I get a sponsorship? I wouldn't say actively, no, but I definitely wouldn't be opposed to a Reese's sponsorship, because this shit is gas. That being said, absolute fucking S tier. I'm putting it above Almond Joy. I'm doing it. People always say this expression of something is a good combination as peanut butter and jelly. I would wager that expression should be peanut butter and chocolate, because peanut butter and chocolate invariably will always be better than peanut butter and jelly. This is top tier. Moving on, still in the Reese's family, we have Reese's Pieces. Not Reese's Pieces, although I will admit that's a lot more fun to say. Reese's Pieces are the Reese's peanut butter and chocolate experience of the peanut butter cup in the easy knockbackable experience of nerds. While they are more shaped like M&Ms, I find it more pleasant to just open up the box and just knock back a couple real quick. Not the whole thing, because the boxes are much bigger, but Reese's Pieces are good. Would I prefer Reese's Pieces over peanut butter cups? I don't think so, because they have the candy coating, which could be kind of grating on my teeth. And the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup is just chocolate and peanut butter, so it's easy to eat. So I would say Reese's Pieces are really good, and I would say right behind Heath Bars in A tier. Next up, we have Ring Pops. Now, Ring Pops are an interesting one for me, because I can't immediately recall what Ring Pops are like. I think they're basically just a Jolly Rancher you can wear on your finger. I'm not a big fan of them because I feel like there's an added experience there that is unpleasant, because instead of just popping a Jolly Rancher real quick and just kind of enjoying it, you now have to worry about this very weirdly sharp plastic thing digging into your finger, either if you're wearing it or just holding it, and then you can't even just like take the candy off because it's like adhered to this little nub that's sticking up to make it a ring. I feel like the novelty of it being a candy you can wears off by the time you're like 6, so I'm not particularly jazzed about Ring Pops. Probably like middle of C tier, probably behind Gummy Bears. Ah, yes, I mentioned these earlier. We are now moving on to Rolos. Rolos are perfectly fine. I really have nothing extraordinary to say about Rolos. They are perfectly okay. I don't really have an opinion on them, but they are just chocolate and caramel, and unlike Milk Duds, they are not chocolate and caramel that has been set for like 13 years, so they get stuck in your teeth, and it's just kind of a little cup of chocolate that you just pop in real quick because they're little, and then you bite into it and some caramel leaks out and you're having a good time. They're very okay. I would say probably behind 100 grand in B tier. Similarly, I touched on Skittles earlier, and I will expound on that now. Skittles are an interesting enigma to me because they have that whole thing of the candy shell over like this weird like substance. I'm not even sure what the fuck it is, where it's almost like a gummy but not. But I appreciate that the candy coating is not particularly hard, and the weird substance in the middle that I will never understand what it is, it's probably just a different form of sugar, is very chewy. It's not gum, but it's very similarly chewy, and I do appreciate myself a nice chewy texture, so long as it doesn't get stuck in my teeth or take 4 years to chew. That being said, Skittles are an absolute fucking like swanton bomb of sugar. So as I mentioned earlier, I can only really like have one of the tiny bags, like half the size of this kind of bag, the kind you would get in your like trick-or-treating basket. I can only have one of those and then like I'm good for the day. So I guess in that experience, they are the same sort of like sugar shot as Nerds, but without the shottable capability of it just being a bunch of little crumbly things that you can knock back at once. So I would say probably behind Dum Dums in B tier. I'm actually gonna bring them back behind Candy Corn on the low end of B tier because of the absolute punch in the face of sugar that they are. Next up, we have Smarties, I believe, and Smarties are perfectly fine. I have not had Smarties in many years actually, but they are like compressed like dextrose powder. They are just absolute pure sugar. And now that I'm thinking about it, I don't remember them being overly sugar, but it might be because I was like 7 when I last had them. So that might be an issue. I don't know. At least going off from the experience I have had of Smarties, I like them. I like the crumbly, like almost like chalky texture to it, which is weird, I know, but they have a lot of give to them, and not in the sense that like, you know, like a gummy has a lot of give, but when you bite into it, it just kind of disintegrates, and that I appreciate. It knows what it is. It's just compressed sugar. So the moment you break that compressed sugar, it's like, I know what you're doing. I'll get right to it. I'm going right back to being sugar. You're basically eating Fun Dip. And then you're happy. And then you crash like an hour later, and then you hate yourself. But that's just how sugar goes. I would say Smarties probably right behind Skittles for the similar situation of they're probably way too sugary, but the last time I had them was when I was like 6. So I cannot confirm nor deny. Snickers. Yes. As I mentioned with, I believe it was the Baby Ruth, Snickers is the stock standard for a chocolate bar as far as I'm concerned. It's milk chocolate, peanuts, nougat, and caramel. That's all I really need. And unlike Baby Ruth, the peanuts are presented in a way that does not hurt my mouth. They're like crumbled and chopped up on top of the caramel, and then all that's coated in chocolate. That's what it's called. So between Baby Ruth and Snickers are much, much easier to eat. For me, at least. Again, sensitive mouth. However, I will say this classic form of Snickers, with the milk chocolate, the peanuts, whatever, is not the ultimate form of Snickers. Those who are informed already know what I'm talking about. And unfortunately, that is not here because it is not technically a candy, but rather an ice cream bar. The Snickers ice cream are absolutely fucking top tier, and I'm never disappointed to have those. But they are not here, so I will not waste your time by going into in depth about how goated they are like I did with the Heath bar. But they are in a similar family, so it is really between, would I rather have a Snickers ice cream or a Heath ice cream? Ooh, actually, okay, I was doing this for a bit, but I'm actually having a hard time trying to think of like which one I would like more. Okay, thinking in my head right now, I think purely for the chocolate / peanut to ice cream ratio, I would prefer Heath, because the Heath ice cream is also really fucking good. Whereas the Snickers ice cream is, yeah, it's ice cream. You know, you picking up what I'm putting down, you smell what I'm stepping in. Both are absolutely goated, of course, but if you gave me like red pill, blue pill, Morpheus, do you want to take the Snickers ice cream and live your life as it is, or do you want to take the Heath ice cream and see how fucking goated ice cream could be? I'm picking the Heath bar every time. Heath bar is red pill, Snickers is blue pill. Next up, we have Sour Patch Kids. Now, as I mentioned earlier in this very video, I am a fan of sour things. I do not eat sour all the time because the citric acid, which is the thing that makes things sour, very much destroys my mouth. It is my guilty pleasure that I enjoy sour stuff because I have a sensitive mouth, and sour stuff is absolutely rampant on my mouth. However, the experience is very, very good, and I really like it, aside from the part of my mouth getting destroyed. So, I love sour candy. I almost invariably always brush my teeth immediately after, and I typically like swish around some water in my mouth to kind of like clean out the excess like acidic stuff to it. Now, that being said, I have never had Sour Patch Kids. I know, fake fan. I know it, I said I love sour candy, but I've never had Sour Patch Kids before. The sour candy I've had is blue raspberry, most everything I've mentioned so far, and one that's coming up that I will get to. So we are actually going to have to look over to our friend ChatGPT, it is GPT. I thought it was GBT. Oh, well, there's a fucking development. We're gonna have to look over at our friend ChatGPT to review Sour Patch Kids for me, because I unfortunately have never had them. Also, close off the review with a Halloween-related joke where the punch line is a complete non sequitur. Sour Patch Kids offer a perfect blend of sour and sweet, starting with a sharp tang that melds into a sugary finish. Their chewy texture and playful shapes make them fun to eat, and the flavor variety keeps things interesting. It's a go-to for fans of sour candy. Tier ranking, S tier, a crowd pleaser with a balanced sour-sweet punch that's hard to beat. Why did the vampires go to the party? Because purple giraffes don't wear roller skates. Still throwing out the banger, ChatGPT. All right, well, you heard the robot. Sour Patch Kids are S tier, and I'm just gonna be a little bit biased here and say that they are the bottom of S tier, right behind Jolly Ranchers. Because as good as they may be, I don't think there's anything that's gonna beat blue raspberry or watermelon Jolly Ranchers as far as sour goes. Next up, we have Starburst. Now, Starburst, I have an interesting opinion on. Starburst itself, I'm typing in, is not the ultimate form of Starburst. The actual Starburst has nothing to do with the ultimate form of Starburst. In fact, rather, it is jelly beans that are Starburst flavor. Those are the ultimate form of Starburst. That being said, is Starburst good? It's okay, because here's the reason. Here's my reasoning, right? Starburst is perfectly fine. It's chewy. It does get stuck in your teeth sometimes, which is why you can prepare them by like sitting on them or something to warm them up. However, when you are done and everything's good, you have your Starburst at the ready to enjoy, only like half of the package is going to be an exceptional experience, because you have yellow to like pink. I believe yellow's in there. You have the yellow to pink flavored Starburst, and if you ask me, the red and the pink Starburst are really the only ones that are worth eating. That's just me. I could be wrong, but I don't feel like I'm wrong, and also this is my list. So, for the fact that there is kind of some preparation involved, at least for me, with the whole they're tough and get stuck in your teeth unless you sit on them thing, and when you're done, there's only like 50% of the flavors that you're going to be enjoying, it's gonna be wow. It's probably gonna be top D tier, honestly. Next up, Sweden represents, we have Swedish Fish. which funnily enough, I kind of assumed that Sweden didn't actually have Swedish fish, and that was just kind of like a fancy name, sort of like how Canadian bacon isn't actually Canadian. But apparently Sweden does have Swedish fish. They're just different. They have the red Swedish fish that we have here, but apparently they have like different Swedish fish as well, as like yellow ones. And I think they're different flavors. I don't know. I don't live in Sweden. But because this is America we're talking about, because I live in America, we just have the stock standard regular ass red Swedish fish. And I'm actually, this might be controversial. This might be weird. They're better than peanut M&Ms. Swedish fish smack. They're awesome. I love them. I really have nothing more to say to that other than they're great. I love them. I guess if I were to say something else, something more, I would say that they are a gummy presented in a way that does not get stuck in my teeth, probably because it's not overly gummy. It's a very solid gummy, and not in the sense that Milk Duds are solid, but rather it's all very much divisible. It's easy to like bite in half in your teeth, and it's not gonna like stretch out or anything. You just bite it in half, and then you eat that half, and then you throw in the other half, and then you eat that half, and you're happy because you're eating Swedish fish. Swedish fish are good, and they will always be good. That's an S tier. Now I have no idea what that is. That looks like I'm guessing that's a candy toothbrush, which I've never had before, like ever. Hold on. So I have literally no fucking clue what this candy toothbrush is. Never had it in my life. I've never seen it before. So we're gonna have to turn over once again to ChatGPT to see what they have to say about this. A very brief review of a peculiar candy in the shape of a toothbrush, because I don't even know like what brand this is. Also, close off the review with a Halloween related joke where the punchline is something completely unrelated and also kind of sad. This peculiar candy shaped like a toothbrush is amusing, but feels a bit ironic. The shape makes for a fun novelty, though the flavor and texture are fairly standard, nothing groundbreaking. It's more of a conversation starter than something you'd reach for regularly. Tier ranking, C tier. Fun concept, but the taste is pretty average, and the novelty wears off quickly. Why don't mummies take vacations? Because the ice cream shop down the street closed last year, and it hasn't been the same since. Alright, you heard the robot. C tier. And I'm just gonna assume that it's better than Baby Ruth, honestly. Next up, we have Tootsie Rolls. Now, I kind of touched on this earlier. Tootsie Rolls are another candy that you really have to prepare, because a Tootsie Roll out of the wrapper, like from the get-go, is very unpleasant. It's tough, it's hard to chew through, it hurts my teeth in the sense that it's not, pressing and crushing my teeth, but rather it's like adhering my teeth to each other. So you kind of have to like sit on a Tootsie Roll for like an hour to get it to a consistency where it's soft enough that you can enjoy it, I'm not crazy about Tootsie Rolls. Tootsie Pops aren't much better. Yeah, this is going to be another D tier, probably above Milk Duds, but that's not a high bar to clear. And next up, we have Trolley brand Sour Bright Crawlers. Now this, I haven't had Sour Patch Kids, but I've had these, and I've had them a lot. I'm a decently big fan of gummy worms, and these Sour Bright Crawlers, perfect. They're the exact right amount of sour. And if they're not the exact right amount of sour, there's always that little like patch of extra sourness at the bottom of the bag that you can then shake it up and coat them even more in that the sour goodness. It's a shower of sour. So if you want that extra sour kick, you can always have that option. When that whole like weird Twitter trend of like the lemon thing was going around, I did a very like rough doodle of Vixie trying that trend, and she's completely unaffected because she eats these all the time. So yes, I'm a big fan of these, and because of that, I don't think they're gonna go into S tier. Well, I feel like if Sour Patch Kids went into S tier, yeah, we'll put them above jelly beans. Next up, we have Twix. Now, Twix was my favorite sort of chocolate bar for a very, very long time. A wholly pleasant experience. You had the good chocolate, the generous portion of caramel on top of it, and then that mysterious, miraculous cookie in the middle. That no matter how hot it gets, no matter how much it melts, no matter how much the caramel engulfs the cookie, it always manages to be crisp. And I don't understand what arcane magic goes into that, but I appreciate it. It's amazing. Twix are a staple and something that I'm never disappointed to get. So needless to say, these bad boys, they're going in S tier. Where though? Above the pretzels. Yeah, that feels good. Next up, we have Twizzlers. And I will come out right out of the gate and say, I do not think that there is a person on this planet that legitimately enjoys Twizzlers. I'm pretty sure anyone who says they enjoy Twizzlers and all of the whole quote-unquote thing of them being the staple of like theater snacks, I'm pretty sure that's just a psyop to get us to try and like Twizzlers. Twizzlers fucking suck. They're awful. I mentioned that I like black licorice jelly beans because I like black licorice and it's real licorice, and then red licorice is like the sweet alternative. And Twizzlers aren't even that because they're not even real fake licorice. They are Twizzlers. And I will tell you that while they are not licorice, I can tell you what Twizzlers are, and that is ass. They are going above Butterfingers purely because they don't get stuck in your teeth. So next up, we have vegetables, which I will say I have never gotten, well, fruits and vegetables because I see apples there too. I will say I have never gotten like fruits or vegetables for like my Halloween trick-or-treats. I've had caramel apples before and those are fucking awesome. But I'm assuming this is just like for those health nut houses that don't give out candy and they give out like apples or bananas or something, which is stupid because an apple has a fuck ton of sugar in it because it's a fucking fruit. But I think just because we haven't really got to use ChatGPT a lot for this, we'll go ahead and turn to them. Receiving fruits or vegetables for Halloween is an absolute travesty. Imagine the pure joy of trick-or-treating only to be handed an apple or even worse, a carrot. Blech. The audacity to substitute candy, the cornerstone of this sacred holiday, with something healthy is utterly infuriating. Halloween is a time for indulging, not for being lectured on nutrition. If you're giving out fruits or vegetables, you're actively destroying the spirit of Halloween. Tier ranking F tier, the worst possible outcome for any Halloween haul. Unacceptable. Why did the ghost go to school? Because vegetables on Halloween are an insult to every child and a betrayal of tradition. Alright, well you heard ChatGPT, they are F tier. I'm still gonna put them above Butterfinger though. Alright, with that brief interdiction, with that brief interception of ChatGPT's vehement opinions on vegetables for Halloween, let's move on to fruit snacks. Arguably a healthier alternative to standard candy. And you know what? Welch's fruit snacks, they're gas. They're good. I like them a whole lot. I used to eat fruit snacks all the time as a kid. They're sweet. You know, literally. Where do I want to put them though? Ooh, getting fruit snacks for Halloween. Ooh, that's interesting. I think I would still be happy about getting fruit snacks for Halloween. Yeah. I'll put them right above Dots because they're much softer than Dots, so they don't get stuck in your teeth nearly as much. Next up, we have Whoppers. Whoppers for me are the ultimate dad food because I remember my dad used to eat Whoppers like it was going out of style. And I don't blame him, honestly. They're great. The chocolate I've always found was kind of but the experience of crunching into whatever the hell that is always incredibly satisfying because it's not an overly hard crunch. And I appreciate an overly hard crunch because if it's an overly hard crunch, I'm probably gonna hurt my teeth. So I get the experience of crunching into something, that pleasant texture, that pleasant mouthfeel of crunching into something crunchy without the potential of hurting my teeth. And I appreciate that. So I think this is gonna be top of B tier, purely because the chocolate's kind of mid. And finally, we have the ultimate end to this tier list, the York Peppermint Patty. And so, I would like to say this one thing. The only time dark chocolate is ever good is when it is paired with mint. Then it is awesome. Now, these aren't Andes mints. Andes mints are as far as I'm concerned, the pinnacle of chocolate and mint, but York Peppermint Patties are a very pleasant way to experience chocolate and mint. Am I going to be upset with York Peppermint Patties showing up in my trick-or-treat? No. And furthermore, because I'm one who enjoys chocolate and mint, there are people who don't. And so if they get York Peppermint Patties, that just means I get a net positive on York Peppermint Patties because they're probably going to give them to me, and I appreciate that. So this is going to be another, we'll say, middle of A tier, right behind Hershey's and ahead of M&M's. I right-clicked by accident. And so there we have it. My definitive and collaborative effort of a Halloween candy tier list with ChatGPT for the ones I've never had before. And so this is my word. This is my gospel. Of course, leave a comment down below telling me what your favorite Halloween candy is. And if it is not Reese's Peanut Butter Cups or Almond Joy, you can appreciate the fact that you are wrong. And so, this wonderful video comes to a close. But you know what? They didn't really get much to say, so how about we have ChatGPT say their last few words before we end off this video. So ChatGPT, what do you have to say? In the grand tradition of Halloween candy, the treats that bring joy range from sour to sweet, from the minty fresh to the downright spicy, but one thing remains constant. Halloween is about indulgence, fun, and a little mischief. Not a time for fruits, toothbrushes, or anything that reminds you of real life. So let the candy flow, and may your pillowcases be filled with only the finest of sugary delights. Happy Halloween! Give us one last terrible Halloween joke for the road. Bonus points if it's offensive. Why did the skeleton get kicked out of the Halloween party? Because he tried to and fell apart, just like my faith in humanity when I saw someone hand out celery sticks. Oh, I like how I remembered the whole bit of it being upset at at fucking fruits and vegetables. Okay, thank you, ChatGPT. Your help has been invaluable. Invaluable or valueless? Yeah, well, anyway, I already closed the fucking thing, so who cares? Anyway, that is going to be the end of this brief little, well, maybe it was just a little bit longer than the Silent Hill recording would have been, but this brief little silly tier list. So, with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you genuinely enjoyed this video, consider dropping a like and make sure to hit that subscribe button, become a pup if you haven't already, and to hit the bell so it actually does something. If you want to support me in the channel, you can do so on Patreon for just $5 a month, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks. My name's Vixie, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.